Welcome to Learn Astrology with Mary. My name's Mary English, and today we're doing a session about retrograde planets, which is a follow-up of the podcast that went out on Sunday, where I was speaking with Gregory Roszak about this year is really unique because we've got 6 planets retrograde for the whole of this month. And the last time something similar happened to this was 1984. So it doesn't happen every day of the week. And in 1984, I don't know if you're alive, but in 1984, we had the miners' strikes and rather a lot of rioting and goodness knows what else. So it's going to be similar for this month, that type of energy, because the nature of the planets that are retrograding, it's going to make things weird. So just a little bit of, I don't know what the word is now, housekeeping. If you can keep your microphone off until I start yakking at you or you want to say something, we will have a chat. I'm going to talk about 2 particular charts. We're going to use Oprah Winfrey today. I'm going to be using people most people know. We're going to use Oprah Winfrey and we're going to use the Queen because I like using her chart. And moving on from what Gregory was saying, I didn't realise until we did the podcast that if a planet's opposite the sun on the day that you, sorry, not opposite, if whatever is opposite the sun, that planet will always be retrograde. And like when he told me that, and I was interviewing him, and I was going, really? And I just absolutely didn't know that, because I know about planets retrograde and I know about them things being in opposition, but I didn't realise when a planet is in opposite your sun sign in your chart, other than the moon, because the moon can't go retrograde. I didn't realise it would be retrograde, and I was going like this, shock. But anyway, to refer you to this book, if you want to know more about retrograde planets, this is by Erin Sullivan, who I do follow on Facebook. And the book is called Retrograde Planets, Traversing the Inner Landscape. And another one that I recommend, if you're interested in retrogrades, is this one, which is A New Look at Mercury Retrograde by Robert Wilkinson, which looks like that. So these are 2 books that cover everything that we're going to be doing today in a lot more detail. I ain't going into tons of detail because we're only going to be here for a while, but we are going to chat about your charts. Now, I presume all of you should have at least 1 planet retrograde. As much as it's rare to have what Gregory was talking about, somebody with 6 retrograde planets, equally all us normal human beings, and I've got about 4 in my chart, should have a planet retrograde. So the first person we're going to start with, we're just going to look at the Queen, because most people know a bit about her, and hopefully I can share my screen. So I should be able to go share screen. There we go. And that looks a bit weird. Share screen. Right. So let me just get the Queen's picture up, and hopefully you can see this. So Queen Elizabeth is a sun sign Taurus. She is a Capricorn ascendant. Ooh, I don't want to do that. And she's got her moon in Leo. And I don't know if you can see, where are we? I can see all of you. Start sharing. There we go. Does that do something? Ping. So somebody turn their microphone on and let me know whether or not you can see what is on my screen.
No.
Right. Can't see anything.
I can see it.
Oh, okay. So if I go again, so that's it there?
Yeah, I can see it. I'm on an iPad.
Oh, okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll put her chart also in the chat box. Okay, so 1 minute. Let me do that so we can cover every. So we've got the chat there, and in fact, if you want to chat to each other, very welcome too. So here we go. Queen Elizabeth. Ping. Bonk. And I'll talk you through her chart if you can't actually see it, so don't fret. She is, let me see how many planets she's got retrograde, so I'm going to zoom in. Because she's going to be under a bit of stress at the minute. I don't know if you know what's going on in the news at the moment, but Prince Andrew, they're trying to ship him over to America too rightly to answer questions about him being friendly with some person that was not nice to lots of girls. But the Queen herself natally has Saturn retrograde and Neptune. So I'll just indicate where her Saturn is up here, la la la, in the sign of Scorpio, and her Neptune, which is in the sign of Leo, is over here. La, 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 la. And those 2 planets are retrograde in her chart. Now, what Gregory was saying was depending on whether or not you remember what happened in the podcast, was you need to find out what your ruler is for this year by using the 12-year cycle. I won't bother with the Queen because it's too much of a difficult thing to do. I can't demonstrate it because I'm not an expert, but I would be paying attention to which planets are retrograding and where in her chart, yeah, and are any of them going to be conjuncting something that she has natally. So here's her ascendant in the sign of Capricorn. She's been having a shitty few recent years of it anyway. It's going to get worse. This planet here, Jupiter and Saturn, have already started retrograding. So in a retrograde, normally the planets go in this direction, clockwise, but in a retrograde, they're going to go counterclockwise. So they're going to shift all the way back up here, and they're going to conjunct back to her ascendant, Jupiter, and Saturn and Pluto this year are all going to go back over her ascendant again. So what does that mean in English? You have to translate each planet. So Pluto is about deep change and transformation. Jupiter is about belief, and Saturn is about responsibility. So she's going to have to step up to the plate of what is she responsible for. If it were my son and he'd been getting up to tricks like that, I would definitely shop him to the police. There'd be no doubt about it in my mind. I wouldn't want to be the parent to somebody that's been misbehaving, and I certainly wouldn't want to, which is what happens with rich people and royal families, is just make it all sort of shush and stuff. I'd definitely be walking him down the police station and getting him to make a statement or something. But then maybe I'm a bit of a hard mum. But she's going to have to do something about what does she feel responsible for. Now, Mercury is going to go retrograde for 3 whole weeks this month. Starts on her Pluto in her 6th house. So the 6th house is about health. Pluto's about deep change and transformation. Maybe something's going to happen on the health front with her. Who knows? Venus is retrograding through her 5th house. What's the 5th house all to do with? The children that we give birth to. Venus is going to retrograde. Maybe she stops loving her little baby. Who knows? I don't know. Uranus is in retrograde at the moment, but will a little later on, and it's going to go probably back towards her sun sign, which is 0 degrees in Taurus. I don't think it'll retrograde all the way back to 0, but it'll still be within conjunction because it needs to be within 8 degrees. And this is the 4th house, which is about the home and roots. And so her home life is going to be a bit shaky, but then I would have thought it's going to be that way anyway, since she's lost one of her grandchildren's, gone to Canada, I think, might have gone to America now, and also with Prince Andrew being called up. Mars is going to go direct. Okay, the only 2 planets that are not going retrograde this year is Mars and Uranus. That's right, it's the only 2 planets that aren't. So the 2 signs of the zodiac that aren't going to be, so I retract what I just said about Uranus going retrograde, that's not until next year. The 2 signs of the zodiac that won't be affected by any retrogrades, the one sign that won't be is Leo, because it's ruled by the sun, and the sun can never go retrograde. And the moon is a relationship with Cancer, so Cancer should be all right, apart from the fact that Mercury's going to retrograde in the sign of Cancer. So that includes you, Nikki, and also Alexa, who was going to be joining us today, but I haven't checked to see if she has. So those are the 2 signs, Leo and Cancer, that are least likely to be affected, and also Aries, because Mars is, where are we now? So Mars is in the sign of Pisces at the moment. In a few weeks' time, it's towards the end of this month, I think it's the 28th of this month, Mars is going to be going forwards in the sign of Aries, right for the rest of this year, but it's going to go forwards and it's going to go backwards, and it's going to go forwards and backwards. It's got about 2 or 3 retrogrades, but it's going to stay in the sign of Aries, and that's the ruling planet to Aries. So Aries is probably going to manage to get through this retrograde period slightly better. Okay, so we'll have a little chat about that. So if you want to unmute yourselves and ask me a question, does what I've said, let me turn the screen sharing off, stop sharing, bink. Okay, so any questions so far? Obviously, you can talk about your chart.
So if Leo isn't affected by these retrogrades, does,
yes,
if you're a Leo, so I'm not, but if you are a Leo sun, do the retrogrades affect the other planets? that are going on in your natal chart. So
Yeah.
if your Mercury's retrograde, it's just the sun that doesn't get affected.
Correct. And the sun is who we are. Yeah. So you as a person won't be affected. But say you were sun sign Leo and you had your moon in Aquarius, which is an opposition anyway. Saturn is in the sign of Aquarius at the moment and is going to retrograde back into the sign of Capricorn and then go forward again next year. So you would be affected, but not in the same way. So the only sign that isn't going to be affected is Leo, because it can't. There's no retrograde planets. So they generally do all right out of retrogrades.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Nikki, did you say something? Or Diana? Go Diana, yes.
Yes. You know, you were saying earlier about planets in opposition always being retrograde. I didn't understand that. Do you mean if in the birth chart 2 planets are opposite, then one of them will be
It's about the orbit of the sun. So us orbiting around. So everybody orbits around the sun. We do it. All the other planets do it, apart from the moon, which orbits around us. So if your sun is in whatever sign, and so I know somebody who's got sun sign Pisces and Pluto in Virgo. So the Pluto is opposite their sun sign. So Pluto will be Virgo. Pluto will be retrograde. So whatever sign is directly opposite the sun sign, the sun, not the other planets, the sun, that planet will be retrograde. There is a picture in Erin Sullivan's book, and also on the podcast on Sunday, Gregory did share it with us, because that's what I was saying at the beginning of the of this session, that I didn't do that. I was like, oh my God, how do these planets go retrograde? Like, that's just weird. It's opposite the sun sign. But it is a mathematical planetary thing, the way that they go. So she has an actual picture. If I can pick it up, I can stick it up to my camera. Where are we? I'm sure it's at the beginning. There we go. Right. So you won't be able to see it that clearly, but that is the Earth in the centre there. On that bit there is the sun. So this bit here. These are all the planets that she's named, and depending on what degree that planet is, so if it was something like 1 degree or whatever, it wouldn't be retrograde, but a bit further on, so she's got all the degrees, and she's done the planets Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto in that little chart there. All of these ones, if you were born, say, sun sign, whatever, and you got any of these planets in the opposite sign to your sun sign, like the example I gave you, the lady that was born with sun sign Pisces, and her Pluto is in the sign of Virgo, opposite her sun sign. Depending on what degree they are, most of the time they'll be retrograde.
Okay, lovely. So it's just the sun, oppositions to the sun. That's the bit I
nothing
didn't
to do with
get.
any
Thank
other
you.
planets. No, that's what I didn't know. Okay, been doing astrology for
Good to know.
yes.
Yeah, me too. I didn't know that.
I've read that bloody book. I didn't read it recently. I read it ages ago, and obviously it went in one ear and out the other. But that's just okay. So I haven't got a chart. I don't think I've got anything. The Queen's got nothing else. No, the Queen hasn't got anything. Let me just check with Oprah. I don't think she's got anything opposite her sun sign. Yes, she does. So I can demonstrate with her. She's got sun opposition Pluto. So when I come onto her chart in a minute, I can show you that. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else got any questions?
Yeah, Mary, so in my chart, I've got Mercury and I've got a little R at the bottom next to it. Does that mean Mercury's retrograde?
Yeah, don't worry. I've got it too. It's not fatal.
So yeah, so that's a retrograde. Okay, so my Mercury is in Cancer. So my retrograde Mercury is in Cancer, where Mercury is going to retrograde. Is there any significance in that?
Okay, now if you're born with Mercury retrograde, and so was I, when Mercury goes to retrograde, you will be one of the only people that will be able to cope with that retrograde, because you were born with it and you lived and survived and got to the age of whatever you are now. So you will be able to understand it and feel it more and, what's the word now, but be less affected by it. Because I just know what it's like to have Mercury retrograde for myself. I don't learn in a normal way. I have to teach myself. I can't have a teacher. I'm shit at teachers. I was rubbish at school. I don't know if that's anything to do with Mercury retrograde, but that was just my experience of Mercury retrograde. I learn better than being taught, and I don't learn regular. I sort of skip about a bit and then I get to the info. So anybody that's got Mercury retrograde, and have got a podcast on it, if you're bored, you can listen to episode number Mercury retrograde. I've done a few on retrograde planets. I might not be able to call it up that quickly. Where is it? Mercury retrograde, episode 85. That whole episode's dedicated to what it's like to have Mercury retrograde. So in your case, Nikki, when it goes retrograde and it's 3 whole weeks, it's shit, you'll be all right, because it'll just be like it was when you were born, sort of thing.
Interesting. And then, so my follow-up question is, I have Venus in Gemini, and the Venus is going retrograde. It is retrograde in Gemini. So will I feel that differently? I won't cope with that because I haven't got Venus retrograde.
So in your chart, have you got Venus retrograde?
No, I just have Venus, but Venus is retrograding over my Venus. So will that affect me differently than the Mercury retrograde over my retrograde Mercury?
Yes, good question. The Mercury retrograde is going to do boggle, but you've got natally Venus in the sign of Gemini. Now Venus goes backwards over your own Venus. And this is what Gregory was talking about in the podcast. So say, for instance, for argument's sake, that your natal Venus is 10 degrees into the sign of Gemini. When Venus comes back to exactly 10 degrees in its retrograde, it might not go about that far, but just say that it did, right slap bang, woomph, back onto your Venus, something will happen with your love life, depending on what house it's in. Are you using equal house?
Whole house.
What house is your Venus in?
Oh, it's in my 11th.
Yeah, okay. So that'll be something to do with your friends. Something might happen. You might fall out with a friend or get misunderstood, or one of your friends dumps one of their friends, that type of thing. So there'll be an undoing of Venus, which is love, Gemini, which is communication. So there's some sort of communication thing that will happen on the 11th house is our friends. Yeah. So the number 4 is our family. Number 7 is the person we marry. Doesn't matter what sex they are, but the person that we live with, get married to. But 11 is our friends. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so nothing has happened apart from when she conjunct with Sun. I had an email or some contact out of the blue from a very old ex. 3 or 4 years. That's the only thing that's come up.
Yeah. Because it's redoing things. I mean, this is what Erin Sullivan talks about in her book. She talks about that things will repeat and things will come again. Absolutely. Old boyfriends will just, you know, if it's a Venus thing, then old loves will return. You know, it's not necessarily, don't look at retrogrades as being negative, except when there's 6 all at once. It's just that normal average human beings can't cope with that many all at once. It just gets to be a confusing mess. So what's necessary during any retrograde is to be absolutely clear about everything, which is what the government's not doing at the moment. They're saying one thing one day and something else. If they just sort of had things like 1, 2, 3, we'd all be fine, but they're not. But during a retrograde, it's absolutely imperative that we're clear about things. Yeah. So needing to revisit and redo, depending on the planet. Obviously, a Venus retrograde is different from a Pluto retrograde. Pluto retrograde, they last longer. The retrogrades can last for months. And I've got a friend who's a Capricorn, and Pluto's been retrograding over her sun sign for flipping ages. Not retrograding, been transiting over her sun sign for absolutely yonks. Her husband's got Cancer. She can't leave the house. She's shielding, and they're both Capricorn, and they're really going through a stressful time. And now Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto once again are going to go retrograde. It's just like, bleh. But it does depend a lot on the individual chart. If you haven't got a birth time, don't fret. Use whole sign method and just see which things are in which signs. Yeah, because a lot of people, especially people born in the UK, we don't have birth times written on the birth certificate. I think that's criminal, but there we go. So it's really difficult sometimes to make a chart because people sort of like, oh, I think I was born at 3. So if you use whole sign or equal house, it makes it easier. And then just look at which things are in which signs. Does that help?
Yes.
Super. Any other questions from anybody?
At some point. Oh,
yeah.
Can you hear me? Sorry. I mean, you might be coming on to this anyway, but yeah. I only have 1 retrograde planet. My husband doesn't have any.
Get him.
I know.
a lucky bunny.
In the podcast with, sorry, I've forgotten his name. Was
Gregory.
Gregory. He did say it was really rare, but he didn't say, well, or maybe I missed it, what that meant or how that would affect that person, or what the impact of that was, I guess.
Impact to not have a retrograde is like your oh gosh, you've got to take the whole chart into account as well. But just generally speaking, if you don't have any retrogrades whatsoever, you'll probably fall to bits during the retrograde. Yeah, because you've just got no experience of it. What sign of the zodiac? Yeah. What sign of the zodiac is he? Because everybody reacts differently. But what sign is he?
He's Aquarius.
Yeah, it probably won't do too much to him anyway, because Aquarians, and you're both air signs, you know, so he's away with the fairies a lot of the time. So yeah, air signs, it's all about thinking. However, during a retrograde, and since Saturn is in his sign at the moment, he's going to have to step up to the plate and be a bit more responsible about whatever, you know. So, and then Saturn will retrograde back into the sign of Capricorn. So this brief window, it's about 2 months, I think. Saturn's in Aquarius. He's going to have to step up the plate for something, take responsibility for something. I don't even know if it's just putting out the trash, but there's something to take responsibility for. Yeah?
That would be nice.
What, taking out the rubbish?
Yes.
Mine won't let me do it. My husband won't let me do it. I'm not allowed to go anywhere near rubbish. I'm going to move on to Oprah unless we have some more questions on your chart for the minute. No? Okay. Right, so let me just get it up before I screen share. So this is Oprah. If you zoom in. There we go. And I am going to talk about remedies as well. So don't worry, we're not just talking about charts. So if I go to screen share, and again, I'll stick this one in the What's It box. So let's just do the chat box. Open that up and ping her. Oopsie. Can't you just tell I talk to myself all day? I do stuff and I go, I'm just doing this. I'm just doing that. There we go. Right. So let's go to screen share and share screen. There we are. Start sharing. Bonk. Right, Oprah. The reason I've used Oprah is because of the Black Lives Matter, and I think it's either today or tomorrow she's going to be having a whole host of people on her show, and she's going to be talking about what happened or what is happening, which I think is marvellous and it should be happening. But anyway, this is why I'm using her chart now. She's got an ascendant of 29 degrees Sagittarius, so there's nothing in the sign of Sagittarius at the minute. She's got sun sign Aquarius, and there's Saturn down there at the moment going forwards. It's not going to get as far as 9 degrees. Saturn's a slow mover. I think it only goes to something like 3 or 4 degrees before it retrogrades back into Capricorn again. And she has moon sign Sagittarius in the 12th, so we don't always know how she feels. Whatever you've got in the 12th is what you hide from other people. Now, as you can see, the Capricorn planets are all clustering up in her first house here on her Chiron, and I thought that was rather, what's the word I'm going to use, poignant, that Pluto, Jupiter and Saturn are going to retrograde over her Chiron, and Chiron is the wounded healer. She's also got her North Node there as well, and the North Node and her Chiron are conjunct. They're only a few degrees apart. They're 23 degrees, both of them, and one's 35 minutes, the other's 56 minutes. So basically in English, Chiron is how we're wounded. North Node is our life purpose, where we should be going in this lifetime, in the sign of Capricorn, so it needs to be practical and pragmatic. And this whole cluster of planets here, all three of them are going to retrograde, and she will, one hopes, will be the spokesperson in a sensible, pragmatic way for how to deal with the death of George Floyd. Yeah. And I hope she does. I haven't checked today because I've been getting ready for this session, but I will be watching it, and I don't know if it's been broadcast already, but it's on her Oprah TV channel thingy that she's got. I know she's inviting a lot of different leaders to discuss the whole issue. Yeah. Now, whether or not it'll affect her personally or professionally, I doubt it's going to affect her professionally. Sometimes when people do these types of things that can sort of knock them out of favour, I don't think that's going to be the case with her. She's got Uranus natally in the sign of Cancer, and Mercury's going to retrograde backwards and forwards over that in her 7th house. Now, I honestly can't remember if she's married at the minute, so you'll have to excuse me on that one, but there might be some sort of relationship things going on. But as I said earlier, she's got Pluto opposition the Sun, and her Pluto, as you can see, there's got a teeny little R next to it. If we scroll down here, if you want to find the bit of your chart that's got the segments in it that lets you know more clearly what is or isn't retrograde, look in that box which I'm highlighting at the moment, and you'll see the name of the planet there, Jupiter, 16 degrees Gemini, the little R next to it. So she natally has Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune and Pluto. So she's got all 3 of the outer planets retrograde. And actually, I personally think she's a spokesperson for her generation. So not for the younger generation. She's born in 1958, I think. Is that right? 54, beg your pardon. So for the generation born in the 50s, she's very much a spokesperson for them, because she's got her 3 outer planets, and the outer planets represent the generation that we're born into. And so there they are, Uranus, Pluto, Neptune. They're quite separate to the rest of the planets in her chart down here. She's got, chart shape wise, a bit of a splash really. I don't think I could make a seesaw out of that. Possibly could make a seesaw with 3 planets here and 7 planets being there. I could just about make a seesaw, I think, or a locomotive. God knows, it's a funny shape she's got. And she's got a great big grand trine in the centre there. So there's her Neptune, which is retrograde in her 10th house with her MC up there. So her career has been very influenced by Neptune, okay, in the sign of Libra. So it's to do with relationships and spirituality. And I don't know if you know, but she's pretty much into the whole spiritual thing. She had Eckhart Tolle and did a whole sessions with him and filmed them and broadcast them. And the MC is how other people view us as it comes to work. In her 10th house, she is quite, what's the word now, recognised for the work that she does. I know it's TV work, but it is still valuable work. I wouldn't like to diss the work that she does, yeah. So the other retrograde planets we've got Mercury's going to go retrograde, Venus is going to go up and down all over her Jupiter in the 6th. That's to do with her health. So I don't know, she has had an issue with eating in the past, whether or not that recurs, who knows. 3rd house is empty, but Neptune's going to be retrograding in there, so that's about communication. Saturn's going to do the little tiddly retrograde on her Venus and her Sun sign, and then these little chuggy ones are going to affect the 1st house. The 1st house is the self, so it's how we come into the world. It's not her ascending sign, which is Saggy, so it's a little bit complex when you have an ascendant that's a late degree to a sign, but your 1st house is a totally different sign of the zodiac. It's a bit of a, it sort of screws your mind up trying to work out how does that manifest. But we have to remember, with a Sagittarius ascendant, the planet that rules it is Jupiter. So then we do look, where's natally Jupiter? Over here in Gemini. So Jupiter's the most important part in her chart. So if we're tossing up which planets are going to affect her the most during these retrogrades, it would be Venus retrograding over her Jupiter, because that's her ruling planet. Okay, so I'm going to take away the screen share, and I'm going to unblock your, stop sharing, there we go, and you can unblock your microphones and chat to me. Any questions there on Oprah or anything further you'd like to ask?
Can I ask about, you said Neptune was retrograding in Pisces. I don't have any planets in Pisces. How would that affect me? But I do have a retrograde Neptune.
It won't affect, yeah, it won't affect your natal one. So don't worry about what you've got natally to what's retrograding. When you're looking at retrograde planets, look at the house it's going to go through. So what's where your Pisces bit is in your chart, Nikki, what house is that? The Pisces bit. 8th house. 8th house is sex, birth, reincarnation, endowments, other people's money, winning on the premium bonds, investments, that type of stuff is the 8th house. With Neptune retrograding through your 8th house, someone that owed you money might repay it. You might get a payout from an insurance policy, or somebody could have borrowed a tenner off you and decides to pay you back. you'll be so it'll be coming back to you, yeah? So sometimes a retrograde can be beneficial. Does that help?
Yeah.
Let me know what happens.
Okay, yeah.
Anybody that owes Nikki some money, please pay her back ASAP.
Is it a good time to do the lottery then or something?
No, I wouldn't recommend it because that's not a re thing. That's a spending money thing. Yeah, that's a spending money there. No, I wouldn't use that for lottery. I have no idea what you would need to do to instigate a win on a lottery ticket. Absolutely no idea. It would probably be a Jupiter thing if it was anything, not a Neptune thing, because Jupiter's the lucky planet. I don't know. I haven't studied the chart. I'm sure somebody has. I'm sure somebody's studied the charts of people that have won the lottery, but generally speaking, the ones that have won it haven't been that happy. Winning loads of money doesn't necessarily bring you happiness. But don't get me started on that subject. I went to school with some very rich kids in Switzerland, and yeah, having lots of money. I'm not talking about small amounts of money or medium amounts of money, but large amounts of money is a headache. Even more probably than not having enough, but it's still a headache. Any more questions? Hope that helps. Any more questions?
Mary, when you're looking at retrograde over a planet, are you thinking about the exact conjunction or a bit of an orb?
Within 8 degrees will still be a conjunction.
Really? Oh,
yeah, so if you've got a planet that's 10 degrees and the retrograde comes to 18 degrees, bing, it's going to be triggered. Yeah.
Neptune will cross my moon then because it's at 24 Aquarius. And it goes retrograde. Oh no, it's Pisces, isn't it? I'm safe.
Pisces. Yeah, Saturn.
That's good
Saturn's
news.
doing the retrograde. No, it's right. Saturn's doing
What's
the retrograde.
Worse?
Well, yeah. So let me just see what degree. I'll just open up an ephemeris. Hold on one sec. So where are we now? We are the month of July. So if I just do a screen share so you can see where it is I'm looking at.
Yeah, so it's early, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, so Saturn at the minute is, oh God, that's July, we're June. I'm skipping ahead of myself now. June, so here we are, and today is the 9th. So it is 1 degree, and it's going to retrograde, back to 0, which isn't going to do anything. What degree is your moon?
24.
Nah, you've missed it, you're okay.
Brilliant. I have got Saturn at 5, though, natally, so that's a bit close.
In the sign of?
Aquarius.
Yeah, you're not having your Saturn return till ages away. You're right. It's just making a little dip. Yeah, when it was, I don't think it went to 2 degrees. Did it? No, it went. Sorry to move this so quick. It went 0 degrees and then 1 degree into Aquarius, still 1 degree, and it goes retrograde on the 11th, and retrogrades all the way back 0. Yeah, and then back into Capricorn for the rest of this year. So it's not going to do anything to your natal Saturn or your moon. You can breathe a sigh of relief.
Thank you.
It's a tricky combo, though, with you being a Virgo with moon in Aquarius. They are such totally different signs.
Yeah. Someone else said that. That's a bit tricky.
Yeah, and it's tricky because you're ruled by Mercury, and so you'll be a very, very thoughtful person. And Aquarius is an air sign. I'm not saying Aquarius isn't thoughtful, but to have your moon in Aquarius, you might find it more difficult to actually know how you feel and want to quantify it in some way. So the Virgo bit of you will want to know the numbers, but the moon itself is like, I'm free, I can do my own thing. So there'll be that little bit of conflict. I mean, they don't form an aspect to each other. I don't know if they're in conjunct or whatever. I'm not no good on those, but I know it's not forming a normal trine, sextile or whatever. They just don't have a conversation. So actually, probably what's helpful for you is every month when the moon goes back into your sign, that would be the time to actually be able to meditate on how you feel. Because moon in Aquarius people, sweeping generalization here now, do find it more tricky to know how they feel.
Yes, makes sense. It's opposed by Uranus in the chart as well, so it's a bit of a double whammy maybe.
Yeah, because that's the freedom, love and things. So is your Uranus in Leo then, yeah?
It's actually in very early Virgo. It's a little dissociate opposition, but it's not otherwise aspected. So I think it's sort of important because otherwise the moon would be unaspected, I suppose.
Yes. But it's unaspected out of sign, but still with the numbers, but it's still an opposition, whatever. So you absolutely do not need to be smothered.
Indeed.
Okay, I'm not going to be the partner to you that won't let you, I'm not saying you don't like hugs or whatever, but if I was to tell you exactly what to do all the time and how to feel, you'd lose the plot.
Sounds about right.
It's just that I was brought up with Aquarians. My mother and two of my sister are Aquarius, so yeah, I've got the T-shirt. I understand, and I've got 2 planets Aquarius. I've got Venus and Mars, so I can speak Aquarius. It is a language, actually. When you're learning astrology, it definitely is a language to learn. It's a way of speaking about us that isn't personal, like I'm upset. It's planetary, so we can disassociate and talk about planets and stuff to allow us the ability to understand things. Yeah. Any questions?
Very.
Yes, darling.
I've got transiting Venus going retrograde over my descendant. What would that mean, please?
What sign of the zodiac's your partner if you've got one?
Sagittarius.
And you're a Taurus, aren't you, Elizabeth? Yeah.
I'm Sag rising though.
Okay, so you've got Gemini descending, yes?
Yeah.
In your 7th. Okay, so you need to be checking in with your partner and what he's up to, or how they're feeling, or that type of thing during that. It's not necessarily a negative thing. It might be a revisiting. Maybe you re-celebrate the date that you met. Maybe you re-celebrate your wedding anniversary. Yeah. Venus retrograding isn't. I tell you who it is affecting though is Boris Johnson, because he's actually sun sign Gemini, and he's got Neptune squaring his sun sign and going to retrograde. So he just is incapable of telling the truth at the moment. And Venus retrograding, which is the ruling planet to his chart, because he's got a Libra ascendant. But don't get me started on politics. But he's finding everything really tricky at the moment. It's not really like he's having fun. It's a tricky thing, yeah. But with your partner, with him being a Saggy, what's your ascendant is
Sag.
Oh, and your partner's a Sag.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's how you met then, because you're ascendant.
Yes, I suppose so. Yeah, true. Yeah.
No, not so. Definitely, wherever you've got ascending sign is what will always attract the other person. That's when we first meet. The first thing we ever meet is the person's ascendant. It takes ages to get to know who they are on first meeting. This is face-to-face mind, not online. It's totally different online. Yeah. But yeah, with it going Venus retrograding over your descendant, I would be looking out for revisiting things within the relationship. So maybe there could be something like that you've totally never agreed on, like where to put the dog's bed. You like it in the kitchen and he likes it in the garden. So you would have to revisit that and discuss it and sort it out. So there's that type of thing. Or, as I say, maybe you need to re-celebrate your marriage in some way or whatever. Yeah, go on.
Well, because of the lockdown, he's up in Birmingham and I'm in Surrey, so we've only seen each other once. So we really need to, reconnect.
Absolutely, yeah. But surely he's allowed to travel now, isn't he?
Yes, yeah. We've met up once. Yeah, we're going to in a few weeks. Yeah.
Because that's the awful thing about the virus. I was reading about people that have relationships. You literally cannot, if you're not married to somebody, meet up with them. I mean, I assume that you're married, but say you weren't married and you were dating.
No, I'm not right.
No. Exactly. And you just sort of think, imagine if you just met somebody on the internet last week and just started dating them, or you met them just as the lockdown happened. How would that relationship ever get off the ground?
I know, very difficult.
Must be hard. Oh.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions?
Can I ask, do retrogrades affect the part of fortune at all?
Ooh, would it affect a part of? It can affect almost anything in your chart, really. It just depends how prominent your part of fortune is. What house you got your part of fortune in?
In the 5th, conjunct with my moon in Pisces.
Oh, bloody hell, then yes, Neptune's going to do something.
That's what I was thinking it might.
But then it'd be beneficial because Neptune's the intuitive planet. So you've natally got moon in Pisces, yes? And you're a Libra. You're stuffed.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a hopeless combo. I'm only joking. Okay, with Neptune retrograding through your 5th house, that's creativity. Are you planning on having babies?
Well, that's where we're stuck at the moment.
You're trying,
so maybe
or you
there'll be a
haven't decided?
breakthrough.
Are you trying at the moment?
Yes. So
You'll hit lucky. Absolutely. Maybe that's what you need, is the retrograde. You probably hit lucky.
Wow.
We'll see.
Fingers crossed. I'll let you know.
Yeah, do. It might need to take that. Do you know, sometimes things have to happen in an explosive way or a weird way for something to shift. You know, you're a cardinal sign and your partner is an Aquarius, so he's a fixed sign. Fixed signs don't like change, but cardinals are always planning for the future. You know, and it might be the breakthrough that's needed for Neptune to retrograde. So watch this space, as they say.
Yeah.
If you need a remedy, I do have one made out of bar spa water that if your people are trying for babies, I can send it to you. So ping me over an email and we can chat about it. But yeah, did a homeopathic proving from the bar spa water a while back, and a lot of the provers got pregnant. Oops.
Oh wow. I'll have to email you about that.
Yeah, well, actually, the bar spa water, there was some princess or queen or whatever went there and dipped in the water, and then a little while later she got pregnant. She put it down to having gone to Roman baths, but we didn't know that when we started with the proving of the remedy, and I gave it to some healthy human volunteers, and we had 2 babies out of it. So there we go. I mean, I proved it with a few people, but that's what I use it for. Anybody that's trying, and it doesn't have to be like regular pregnancy. There, we've had 2 test tube babies, whatever you want to call it, assisted pregnancies, that have still used that, because there's no guarantee even with an assisted pregnancy, or whatever you call it, assisted, not pregnant. What's the word for when the ovum and the egg join together and and the sperm or whatever? What's
conception?
Fertilization. Sorry, yeah, or conception, whatever. Assisted thingy. They had the remedy and it still worked, because the odds can be quite stacked. Yeah, so talk to me on email.
All right. Thank you.
Any questions, anybody else? No? Great. Now, this one is what I recommend. This is Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Crystal, Gem and Metal Magic. So I'm not saying that Judy Hall's books, The Crystal Bible, is shit. I'm saying this one's good as well. And what I thought I'd tell you was about the planetary rulers. So we're going through a retrograde, and this is me, I personally think what we need is either metals or crystals or whatever to cope with whichever planet might give us the biggest whack, right? So the sun's not going to be affected, so I'm not even going to bother reading them out, yeah? But if it's your moon, so I'll read out, so if something's going to retrograde over your moon, then these are the crystals that will help, right? Aquamarine, beryl, chalcedony, any quartz crystal, anyone you can grab, moonstone, yay, mother of pearl, pearl, sapphire, and selenite, yeah? So in magic, and in this pagan way of thinking, if you know in advance that something's going to happen, then it's always a good idea to prepare yourself by wearing the relevant thing. Yeah. If it's Mercury, so this will be Nikki's case, because she's got the Mercury retrograde, and it's going to be in her own sign. So these ones for strengthening mental powers, for eloquence, divination, studying, self-improvement, communication, travel, and wisdom. Right, is agate, aventurine, jasper, mottled, I don't know what mottled one is, but anyway, mica and pumice. I was thinking, well, the only pumice I've got is the pumice stone in the bathroom, but there we go, that's the ones for Mercury. So Venus, and that is, who was telling me about Venus?
Me. Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, you were having Venus, right? Okay, so the Venusian stones are about promoting love, fidelity, reconciliation, interchanges, beauty, love, youth, happiness, pleasure, luck, friendship, blah, de, blah. So you've got quite a long list, but I'll read them out. Azurite, blue calcite, so you can have blue, green or pink calcite, cat's eye, chrysocolla, chrysoprase, coral, emerald, I'm sure you must have one of these, jade, green jasper, kunzite, lapis lazuli, malachite, olivine, peridot, solidite, blue tourmaline, green tourmaline, pink tourmaline, or watermelon tourmaline, or turquoise. So those would be the ones that I would wear if I'd got something retrograding over my natal Venus. Actually, the Venus retrograde's going over my moon, so I'm up in my my moonstone things. Nobody's got Mars, because Mars isn't retrograde, so forget about that. Jupiter's retrograding in Capricorn. There's only 3: amethyst, lepidolite, and sugilite. Sorry about the pronunciations. Saturn. Anybody got anything going over their natal Saturn? Nope. Alum, apachetia, coal. That's an easy one to get, isn't it? Hematite, brown jasper, jet, obsidian. I've got tons of that. Onyx, salt, easy peasy, serpentine, and black tourmaline. Now Neptune, because Neptune is if something was retrograding over your natal Neptune, so you'd have to have, which it won't be, because I've got natal Neptune in Scorpio, and I expect most of you have. Who hasn't got natal Neptune in Scorpio? What's yours in, Becky?
My Neptune is in Sagittarius.
You're the sign on. What's yours, Nikki? Natal.
Yeah, Sagittarius.
Okay, 2 Sagittarius. Yeah, and Elizabeth, what's your natal Neptune in?
Yes, Scorpio.
Right, you're the same as me and Diana.
Yeah, my Neptune's in Scorpio. I've got a question about Mars though, because I thought that
I'll come on to that in just a tick. Can I just finish reading out what the stones are, just so that whoever's listening is not waiting forever. So if you've got Neptune and something which won't, because we haven't got the signs for it, for the people that are talking at the minute, amethyst, celestite, lepidolite, mother of pearl, easy, and turquoise. And Pluto, if something's natally going over your natal Pluto, which mine's in Virgo, so yours is, if you're a little bit younger than me, get me the next sign on. Kunzite, spinel, and tourmalated quartz, whatever that is. Sounds good. Diana, hit me. You had a question.
Thanks, Mary. Yeah, it's Mercury will retrograde over my natal Mars. So, which
you got natal Mars in Cancer?
Yeah.
What
so
house?
It's in the 9th.
Okay. And you haven't got your MC hidden in your 9th, have you?
No, that's in Leo.
Okay. 9th house is spirituality, long distance travel, further education, philosophy, and learning. Are you studying anything at the minute?
A few bits and pieces, yeah. I'm studying a herbal course and things like that, yeah.
Right then, so during those weeks of the Mercury retrograde, you're going to have to double check and recheck whatever it is you're doing, because it's the house of studying and Mercury is the planet of communication. Then just during those weeks, so say you submitted some homework or whatever, read through it. I mean, I flipping did my newsletter this month and I don't know how I did it. I missed off 2 signs of the zodiac. It didn't take long before I got an email reminding me, but it's like, Mary, you've missed off Taurus. Like, oh my God. And then what was the other sign I missed? There was 2. I can't remember what the other sign was. But the person who was that sign, like, oh, it was Taurus. That was Taurus. And what was the other one? I just said Taurus. One was Taurus and the other was, I can't remember. I think it was Sagittarius. That was it. And so both of those sign people had read the newsletter and, where's my sign? It was like, oh my God, because I was copying and pasting it from a document on my hard drive and stuck it into the newsletter. And in doing the copy and paste, I can only do 3 at a time. And I'd done the wrong 3 and I hadn't done them as groups. And oh my God, I missed it off. And it's like, oh. That's the type of thing that happened. I mean, I'm born Mercury retrograde, so I'm always doing things weird. But in your case, because it's the house to do with studying, then absolutely double check anything that you've got to submit, or even double check something that you're learning. When Mercury goes retrograde, just double check everything.
I think it relates to, I literally today, I've written some content for a book and the publisher's come back and asked me to rewrite a bit of it. That would work for the 9th house, wouldn't it, as well?
Absolutely.
Because it's quite soon, this retrograde. I suppose it's active now, really. Because Mars is at 13 degrees natally, and the retrograde's at 14 in the middle of the month, thereabouts, a little bit after. I suppose it is, that makes so much sense. Thank you.
Definitely. Oh, well, congratulations on the book. What's the book about? Are we allowed to ask? Are you going to shoot us?
It's related to a tarot deck that I was able to publish, very luckily. It's a colouring book to do with the tarot deck and tattoo tarot. Yeah.
Wow.
I have
And
that.
Do you? Oh my goodness.
Is
Well,
that the Mega Munden one?
That's the
though?
one.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have that deck.
I'm the lady that wrote the text for the book.
Ah, my
So the
husband
little
bought it for
booklet
me
that's
for
with
my
it, yeah.
birthday.
And this new one's a colouring book to go with it for people who like doing colouring.
Oh,
And
lovely.
Written a bit of text about colouring, tarot and things like that. So, and I've had to do a lot of research, very ninth house, all that studying to find out all the right information. Yeah.
That's just crazy, isn't it? Isn't it a small world?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, I hope you're enjoying it, Becky.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's really lovely. It's been the one I've got, and we're going off topic now, but having gone from Rider-Waite, I've had to learn how to use it because it's not got the images. It's got, they call it pips, don't they? So it's just got the numbers of cups and things. But yeah, anyway, that's off topic. But
Yeah.
Oh, that's very on topic. That's cool.
It is very cool.
Excellent. Oops, just lost my microphone there for a minute. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the recording off because we've done an hour. So I'll turn the recording off, but we can carry on chatting. All right. So thank you, everybody, for listening today to the Retrograde Skype session about the retrogrades that we've got this month. If you need any further information from me about learning astrology, do ping me over an email, mary@maryenglish.co.uk. I do teach it one-on-one, and with each session you get a Word document and a link to a YouTube video and then a 1-hour Skype session with me afterwards so that we can chat about anything that you've learned. So I hope you have a fab week, and I'll be back next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.